Hey guys, what's up today? I know a few of you guys had a question on how to fix these corner cracks here, and we're helping a friend paint today. They just bought their house and we have a few of these cracked corner areas. We're gonna go ahead and fix it for them. I'll show you guys how to take care of this. Let's go ahead and get into it. What's up?
Don't record me.
Hello.
Okay, boss.
Got it?
Yes,
Thank you.
I got your instructions.
Love it. First, we're gonna start by ripping all the old stuff off. Usually just comes up pretty easily. You need a little spatula, and usually it's already all loose and everything. And then we're just gonna clean up the area where your spatula is gonna slide up and down.
Alright guys, and so just try to knock off any like little extra trash that'll come off in your joint compound. That's the main purpose of this, getting everything off so that the tape won't rebubble. And normally on corners you use the paper tape. I just had mesh tape this day, and I just ended up using that.
And we don't have any big gaps here. If you have anything bigger than like a 1/4 inch gap, you need to fill it with mud beforehand.
And since we are using the mesh tape, I'm having to go with my fingers and just kind of push it into the crease, since you can't really bend the mesh tape.
Alright guys, we've got, this is just 20-minute mud. This is a bag of 20-minute mud that I just always carry in a bucket. You need your drywall tray. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the 8-inch spatula. Got a drill with the mixer attachment. You can mix it by hand, you don't need that. And just some water here in a cup.
This first coat we're doing in 20-minute hot mud, so it's powder form, and then we're just gonna add a little bit of water here and just mix it to a smooth consistency. We don't want to mix too much, so we'll try to get it mixed pretty fast before it starts to get a little bit firm. They also have 90-minute and 45 minutes, so whatever you think will work best for you. If you gotta take it slow, then maybe buy something like a 90-minute.
Alright guys, so we've got our tape already on there. We've got our mud mixed up kind of thick so it doesn't drip or droop. And we're just gonna do our first coat.
Alright, on this first coat I'm using an 8-inch spatula, and I'm just going down the whole length of the repair and adding mud before I even start to smooth it out. So we just want to get mud on everything, and then we'll slowly, work our way from the top down, just smoothing it down. Try to get it as smooth as possible for the first coat. And you don't need a lot on this first coat, but the smoother you leave it, the easier it's going to be when you have to come and sand it and you have to do a second coat. So take your time and leave it as smooth as possible, but still enough mud to cover the tape, especially if it's the mesh tape.
Let it dry. Get the stuff.
Alright, and we let ours dry overnight, so this is the next day. It was completely dry.
Alright guys, we're back. We let this dry, and we're ready to sand, and we're going to do another, just like a skim coat on top of the layer that we did before, and then we'll go ahead and texture it. So what it looks like right now.
Alright, we sanded everything with a 120 grit sanding pad on the sander, and then we came in with 5-minute mud, which is exactly the same as the 20-minute hot mud. You can use the 20-minute, I just happen to have some 5-minute and I wanted it to dry fast. This one just has less work time, again, like the different types that they have. Alright, and so we just skim coated everything, and then we got the drywall sanding sponge, a little bit of water, and we just went with the soft side and sanded. This was after 15 minutes of it kind of drying. We went back and sanded everything, wet sanded, just kind of smooth out the lines to make them fade and feather them out and make them disappear into the wall. Yeah, not too wet, I mean just moist, and this is what it looks like once it's done. You can kind of see where it's blending into the knockdown texture that's already there. So yeah. And next we have the Power Tex texture gun. This is from Wagner. These are like $100 at Lowe's. We have one, and just regular joint compound. So you don't want to use hot joint compound for the texture because it'll dry. It'll be a mess. But regular joint compound, mix it with some water, and you're gonna get a really smooth pancake-like consistency. And then we pour it into the texture gun. Has a little hopper and it has a little motor on it. These are pretty cool. We use these for all types of repairs versus carrying a texture gun, but it's simple. You just put it in the hopper gun, plug it in, and then you spray your textures. And it has different tips, so you can do orange peel, popcorn, and you can do a knockdown like this. So here we're just spreading it kind of thick. Cleaned off the baseboards because they were keeping the baseboards, but not the carpet. And this is what it looks like while it's still wet. So it's starting to look like the wall texture, but we still have to knock it down.
Alright guys, we got the texture sprayed on all of these. We use the Power Tex from Wagner. That's what we used here. And we're gonna let this dry about 10 minutes before we come back and knock it down. So we can get that knockdown texture like this.
Alright, and once the texture is ready to knock down, it kind of have to just test a little area, or once it loses the shine to the texture and it's starting to dry, that's when you can knock it down. And really we're just taking the spatula and we're sliding it across the top to knock down that texture. So this is probably one of the hardest parts. You kind of have to learn, you know, how much pressure, kind of have to, but the more you practice, the better you get at it. And then also the timing, so make sure that it's not too dry but it's not too wet before you start knocking it down. And yeah, and you get that knockdown texture that looks like the rest of the wall. And once we paint it here, once they get the paint on here, then you can see that it just blends in.
Alright guys, there it is. We textured it. We tried to match the knockdown texture as best as we could. This is older and it has paint already on it, so it's a little bit thicker, but I think once you paint it, it'll look really good. We'll get some video here once it's painted. But yeah, when you're doing the knockdown, just make sure you have a clean knife and a rag to wipe it off, and wait till it's kind of starting to dry. If you do it when it's too wet, it'll ruin the knockdown texture. It'll just go smooth on the wall. But yeah, that's it. If you guys like the video, just hit that like and that subscribe, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.